I have yet to come across a product, a service, or a brand with a 100% customer satisfaction rating across the board universally. Now, I'm not saying one isn't out there. Maybe there is. I just haven't personally come across it yet. So what's that mean? When you're marketing your voiceover business, it is absolutely inevitable that at some point you are going to upset someone, intentionally or not. If you reach out to enough people, if you send enough emails, if you make enough contacts, it's going to happen. That's just the nature of the beast. And the reason why I tell you that is so that when it does happen, you're okay with it. That it doesn't become this thing that derails you and keeps you from moving forward in your voiceover business, which is something that happens a lot. If the number one reason why voice actors don't use social media is because they're not really sure what to say, probably the number two reason why voice actors aren't using social media is because they've had a bad experience on the platform. And I think it's safe to say that if you've been using social media for any length of time, that's probably happened. You've shared something that somebody misinterpreted and it upset them, or you shared something that somebody disagreed with and it upset them, or you shared something that triggered someone for whatever reason it may be, and it caused conflict. This is just the nature of human interaction. I mean, if you think back to every conversation you've ever had in your entire life, I'm guessing you don't have 100% success record in, happy, joyful conversations. At some point, there's been conflict. That's the nature of the game. But for some reason, if we are having a conversation with someone face to face and the conversation doesn't go well, more often than not, we're able to move on from it, depending on the seriousness of it, of course. But on social media, as soon as we have a negative interaction with someone, our first initial instinct is that's it. I'm done with social media. I can't do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. And I can understand that to a point. But I think that sometimes we give other people too much power. Case in point. Last week, on one of the social media platforms, there was a post from someone who would position themselves as a quote unquote expert. It's really easy for any of us to position ourselves as an expert. So, whether or not this person is, whether or not they are truly the influencer that they want us to believe, I don't know. It makes no difference to me at this point. But the purpose of their post was a lengthy diatribe about all of the things that people are doing wrong on social media and about all of the different types of posts that people are sharing on social media that this person can't stand. And therefore, because this person is a quote unquote expert and they can't stand these things, then the only reasonable solution is that we should all stop doing those things because we are all doing social media wrong. And that sounds really sarcastic when you hear me say it that way, but literally this was the gist of the post. So one person, a stranger to you and me, no less, shares this angry post. And the initial response of so many people was, I'm doing my social media all wrong. And I say this because I had people reach out, and this is a conversation I've had in coaching sessions where people now think or are starting to question whether or not they're doing their social media wrong because of this one post from a complete stranger. And by the way, let's talk about some of the things that this complete stranger on social media said that they hate. They hate posts about kids. They hate posts about pets. They hate inspirational posts. They hate motivational posts. They hate posts where people share tips. They hate posts where people give expert opinions. They hate posts where people share that lessons that they have learned. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Now, the irony of this post is that half of the things that this person was doing in their post while they were ranting were some of the things that they talked about, the fact that they hate, like, sharing tips for how to do social media. This person's giving us tips on how we're doing social media all wrong. Expert opinions. This person was positioning themselves as an expert so that they could tell us how we're doing social media all wrong. And the list goes on and on. But the point is, somebody who's doing social media and who's trying really hard to do it in a good way, the quote unquote right way, whatever that may be, but trying to do a good job on social media. And particularly if you're somebody who's newer to social media, maybe you're trying to give it a shot, and then you see that, and then it immediately plants seeds of doubt about whether or not you are actually doing social media the right way. I shared a post in the VOpreneur Facebook group where I highlighted this, and the response to it was actually pretty good, which is what made me think, hey, you know what? This is probably worthy of discussing a little bit deeper and diving a little bit deeper into on a podcast episode. But the point that I was making when I was talking about this was that I'm not on social media for that stranger. And my guess is you're not on social media for that stranger either. Who are you on social media for? Well, for me, I'm on for the audience that I've worked very hard to intentionally build over the years. Part of that audience is you. You're watching or you're listening to this podcast right now. You're a voice actor who's trying to figure out how to grow their business, who's trying to figure out how to do things the right way, who's looking for a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance, can't afford to pay for a coaching session every week. So you count on things like this podcast or Free Advice Friday to give you some tips along the way to help you to grow so that maybe you can get to that point where you can afford some coaching. You are my audience. You are who I'm talking to, the voice actor who just needs a little bit of extra help, the voice actor who wants that little bit of guidance, the voice actor who doesn't fully understand this crazy world of marketing or sending emails or doing social media or building ideal customer avatars and all that sort of stuff. And so I can help because I do consider myself to be an expert in that space. And I love to be able to offer those tips. You are my audience. That stranger is not my audience. The instructional designer who is going to hire me to narrate their e-learning course, they're in my audience. The video producer who's going to hire me for an explainer or a corporate video, maybe a commercial, they're in my audience. That person who is responsible for making decisions about who's going to be the brand voice for their startup, that is my audience. So my audience is made up of potential buyers. My audience is made up of people who I can help. My audience is made up of people who I believe that I can add value to. Those are the people that I'm talking to. I'm not worried about one angry stranger who's clearly having a bad day and just decided to take it out on social media at large. And you shouldn't be worried about that stranger either. I am on social media to serve. That has always been my end objective, to serve to the best of my ability, to offer up content that is going to inform my audience, to offer up content that is going to teach my audience, to hopefully offer up content that every once in a while is going to bring a smile or a laugh or a little bit of joy to my audience. Content that is going to make my audience think, content that is going to offer them a tip so that they can do something better, or offer them some advice that helps them to avoid making a mistake so that they can get to the end result that they want to get to faster. And I'm able to offer that advice because I already made the mistake. So, hey, if I already made the mistake, there's no reason for you to make the mistake. So that is what I am there for. I am on social media to try and add value. And do you want to know how I add value? By doing all of the things that this particular individual said was wrong. I can tell you from the metrics that when I share a picture of my kids, people like that stuff. And people resonate with that stuff. And do you want to know why people like and resonate with that stuff? Because other people have kids. And it makes us think about our own kids or our grandkids. Or it makes us think about a sibling or a niece or a nephew. And it becomes relatable. I don't have any pets, but I don't know if you noticed, studio cat's kind of a trend. Do you know why? Because so many of us have pets at home and they come and they hang out with us in the studio, and we love to see that kind of content. If you are so bitter and angry that you can't find a little bit of joy in an inspirational post, then I'm sorry. And I want to be able to help you to get past that. But for me, I love to be inspired. When I see a story of somebody who's crushing it, of somebody who's accomplished a goal, of somebody who's done something great, of somebody who's checked an achievement off their list, no matter how big or small that achievement is. I'm inspired by that. Makes me want to do better. It makes me want to work harder. I love seeing inspirational content, genuine inspirational content. And I would say the same thing for motivation. What we do is not easy. Getting up every day, sending more marketing emails, making more cold calls, submitting more auditions, trying to come up with more social media content, never knowing whether or not our audition is going to get listened to or get shortlisted, or whether our email is going to get responded to, or is anybody going to watch our video? Is anybody going to engage with our post? Is anybody going to drop a comment? I mean, this is not easy stuff to do. There's not always instant gratification in all of these things. And so if I can pick up a little bit of motivation along the way, that's huge for me. I have no problem with motivation. What the heck am I going to do on social media if I can't go and get a little bit of motivation every once in a while? Traditional forms of learning are becoming not so traditional forms of learning anymore as the world evolves. Once upon a time, if you wanted to know something, you had to go to the library and you had to pull out the card catalog. Anybody remember the card catalog? And you had to search for the subject in the card catalog. And then that was going to point you to a particular part of the library. And you had to go and you had to find a book on a shelf, and you had to read a book off the shelf in the library to try to figure out how to do the thing that you wanted to do. Or maybe you had to take a college class or some sort of night school. Whatever it was a lot harder once upon a time to get access to all of the information in the free world. Now we have the internet, which gives us access to all of the information in the free world. If social media has brought one good thing, and trust me, social media has brought a lot of bad as well, but if social media has brought one good thing, it has brought us a world full of experts that are one click away. When you want to do something now, when you want to learn something new now, do you go to the library or do you go to YouTube? Do you search up that recipe in a book on a shelf, or do you look to see if there's somebody cooking it on TikTok? When you are looking for a little bit of entertainment, do you not flip to Instagram and start scrolling through reels? This is the world that we live in now. And so if there is information to be shared, I'm assuming that it is going to be shared on the internet. So why would I have a problem with that, particularly if I can find the answers to the questions that I'm searching for? So of course, I'm going to continue to use social media to share the things that I have learned and to try to learn the things that I want to learn. So this idea that we shouldn't be sharing our tips and our expert opinions and lessons learned, that doesn't even compute with me at all. That feels like it is completely counterintuitive to what the internet was designed for. The internet wasn't just designed for crazy cat videos and a place to complain about politics. I think it has a higher purpose. Let that higher purpose be our ability to learn. I've been doing a lot of studying in the last couple of weeks on Gen Z, and I've read 2 different books now on Gen Z, just to try to understand, partly because I have Gen Z daughters, but also because I recognize that Gen Z is moving into the workplace, and these are people that I'm going to be hopefully working with. Hopefully they'll want to work with me, so I want to understand them better. This is a generation that has never known life without the internet, or has never known life without smartphones, has never known life without social media. The first place they go to learn anything in most cases is their phone, and they are looking at YouTube, or they are searching it on TikTok, or they are searching it on Instagram. So where one generation used to search at the library in the card catalog and another generation used to search it on Google, this Gen Z generation is literally searching social media. They're treating social media as their search engine. So why would I not want to go and share things that I know, that I've learned, that I can pass down, that might be helpful? It blows my mind that somebody would complain about people sharing their tips on the internet, or sharing their expert opinions on the internet, or sharing the lessons that they have learned on the internet. So the most important piece of advice that I can give you in this instance is to not let these people derail you. We give way too much power to strangers. I have had that sinking feeling of sharing a post on the internet. I shared one on Twitter when it was Twitter, once upon a time. And I had one intention for it. And it was written in a very intentional, specific way for a very intentional and specific purpose. And one person misinterpreted what I shared and immediately went with it and became very enraged because they completely misinterpreted what I said. My fault for not being a great communicator, apparently. But still, after that one person went off on my post, it spiraled very quickly. It's the closest I've ever come to getting viral, and I'll tell you, it scared the crap out of me. But at the end of the day, I'm not on social media for that one person. I'm on social media to add value to my audience in whatever way that I can. And just like there is no brand with a 100% satisfaction rating, just like there's no social media account in existence that has got 100% likes 100% of the time, we have to understand that if we're going to use these tools, every once in a while, we're going to upset someone, whether we mean to or not. That doesn't mean we have to be nasty about it. It doesn't mean we have to be rude. You know, every once in a while, I've issued an apology to somebody who was upset by something that I said. More often than not, I come to find out later that, you know, maybe they were just having a bad day. Maybe something was going on, and I just happened to be the guy that set them off. My email landed in their inbox at the exact right time. Maybe it's the exact wrong time. Or my post popped up in their feed at the exact wrong time and it just rubbed them the wrong way. Or maybe it hit a particular nerve because of some other situation that was going on in their life. And it really didn't have anything to do with me at all, but that's what set them off. But you can't give these people all the power. Social media can be one of the best tools that you can use for your voiceover business. And I think that that's something that I've proven to myself and continue to prove to myself over and over again. Social media is a lot of what drives this podcast. Social media is a lot of what drives my coaching. Social media drives my voiceover opportunities. People tell me, I found you on LinkedIn, or I found you on Instagram, or I saw this video that you shared on YouTube. And those things drive results on both sides of my business. And so I certainly want to make sure that I'm always taking advantage of them and every opportunity that they provide. So just don't listen to the haters. Don't let the haters derail you. That doesn't mean that we can't listen to alternative views. Sometimes I have an opinion on something and I share that opinion on something, and sometimes somebody agrees with me, and that's okay. And sometimes people call me out because they think I'm wrong and they lay out a very valid argument for why I'm wrong. And that's okay too. That's part of discourse, having those conversations. That is debate. They used to teach that in school, and we used to be able to do that. And we used to be able to be friends when the debate was over. I think it's important that we listen to the other sides, that we learn from those things. I mean, I'm a student of marketing. I've been a student of marketing for years. I'm always open to what is going on and what is out there. That is absolutely one of the things that drives me and helps me to become better. I can't just get caught in the echo chamber. And so if somebody disagrees with me, I want to hear what they have to say. I want to understand why. And if there's a lesson I can learn from it, I'm certainly going to take that lesson. Maybe I'm going to do things differently. But when I see the types of posts where it's just somebody just being bitter about social media in general, I'm like, why are you even here then? Like, what value does it add to you? If every post that you just listed makes you miserable, if you're the kind of person who comes on social media and you get upset because people are talking about their kids and their pets and motivation, like, dang, I'm sorry, who hurt you? It just seems really unnecessary. And I don't understand what the point is for being there in the first place. But for me, I will carry on. Data matters to me more than opinions in most cases. So I can look back at the history of the posts that I've shared and I can see, oh, this really works. Oh, that really worked. Oh, this one didn't do so well. Maybe I won't do that as much. But this one over here, yeah, that was perfect. That one hit hard. I'm going to keep doing that thing. I don't care if somebody tells me that it's wrong. The data matters to me in this case more than their opinion. So if I can see something that is working, I'm sorry if it upsets someone or if it annoys a completely random stranger, but I'm also not worried. Chances are that random stranger was never going to hire me for voiceover anyway, or that random stranger was never going to be interested in working with me as a voiceover coach anyway. Maybe I wasn't the right fit for them. That's cool too. Better to find out now than halfway through a first session together. Be you. What is the number one direction that we see in pretty much all voiceover reads right now? It's authenticity. Be authentically you. If you like to talk about your pets, then you know what? Every once in a while, sprinkle in a post about your pets, and don't worry about the people who don't like cats or dogs or goldfish or snakes or whatever pet you have. If you're the type of person who likes to incorporate your kids into life lessons learned along the way, which, by the way, absolutely me, plus my kids are completely adorable. So, of course, I want to share pictures of my kids. So those always resonate well. Then you know what? If somebody doesn't like it, I'm sorry, but I'm going to share it anyway, because if 1,000 people do like it, why would I take it away from the 1,000 just so that I don't upset the one, the stranger, by the way, the one stranger that I don't even know? This is not about being rude or mean or distasteful or intentionally trying to upset people. Not at all. What I'm saying is, when you send enough emails, you're going to land in somebody's inbox on the wrong day, and they're going to get upset. You can't let that one person who got upset stop you from sending all of the other emails, because all of the other people didn't get upset. And some of them want to work with you. You can't let that one person stop you. You can't let that one post on social media that totally threw you and now has you questioning your entire social media strategy. You can't let that be the thing that stops you from using social media, because there are other people out there who are enjoying what you're sharing. There are other people who are learning from you. There are other people who are getting a smile from you. There are other people who are seeing you and remembering, oh yeah, Marc's out there. Next time we have something, we got to remember to send it to Marc. That is what I'm doing social media for. So be you and connect with your audience. The people who don't like what you're doing, maybe some of them aren't in your audience. Just something to think about, because it comes up and it's a conversation that happens. And there's enough stress and anxiety and tension on social media right now already. We don't need to add to it. I mean, if ever there was a point in history where we could use a smile when we open up social media, or where we could use a laugh when we sign into one of our platforms, or where we could use a little encouragement or a little motivation or a little inspiration. I mean, if ever there was a time, I would so much rather see that than some of the other stuff that's going on out there right now that I would be happy to turn the channel away from. So keep doing you on your social media. Keep being authentic. That is a winning strategy for social media.